Folks, hello and welcome to Talking Crit Live. I am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. Normally with us would be Bad Mike, but apparently he's bad miking and running late. I'm not
Who
my
knows?
Mike's keeper. Um, Joining us tonight is Tony Merida. Or Merida? I'm a New Yorker. I don't get these names right. You got to realize that. Just saying. But Tony has OSR.
He got his name wrong and
Wow.
he left. That's awesome. That's
Wow.
great.
Wow.
That's
That was
spectacular.
that was what I call timing. Um
Well
Tony
played.
has OSR.com. We're going to be talking about that. And of course, oh, sorry, Jim, you're not in your normal position holding the weight of the show on your shoulders,
There you go.
There we go.
which we need. So we will do that. But in any case, Tony, welcome. And
Thanks, guys.
we will assume that Bad Mike is getting his potato cam ready.
That's right.
Uh,
Furiously
yeah,
peeling it, trying to prepare it.
God help us.
I know. It is what it is. So anyway, Tony, how are you tonight?
Very good. Thank you guys for having me on tonight and the opportunity to talk about my local convention that will be next April 18th, 2026 at the Elks Club in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, where we're going to be celebrating the legacy of old school role playing.
Woohoo!
All right, hold on.
There's
Let's
Mike.
do a shift. My
Look
one
at
speak
that.
work spouse is in the house. Thank you.
So much man love.
I know.
So Tony, what year is it for your show? Is it you? How many years have you been doing this?
So listen, guys, this is our inaugural. This is the first one. So I've never run a convention
God.
before. No, I have been attending conventions for more than a decade, running events, be it GaryCon, TotalCon, Carnage, ShireCon, and I always enjoyed putting on shows for anyone who ever took a chance with being in one of my events or one of my games, and doing that and talking to Tom Wilson and different organizers of these conventions. I thought, why not put on my own show and why not put it right in the Merrimack Valley, right in Massachusetts where I live,
Right.
and concentrate and focus on what I think is the essence of what we do, and that is reminding us as players, reminding those who roll the dice that we do of what it was like to play these games when we were kids and to have that innocence of that first nat 20 or the first slaying of that dragon.
Not that you're setting yourself up for a lot of work, because I love so I love all of that, right? I love absolutely all of that. So you've got the venue, you've got ideally a slate of what you're doing. Who are your special guests for the show? Do you have any?
I do. So special guest lists, I've been releasing them bit by bit. The last reveal was brought out. So we have Jeffrey Talanian of Northwind Adventures, good friend of mine. He leads our home group. So the Knights of Next Tuesday have been meeting every Tuesday, give or take, since May of 1991.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes.
Excellent. That's
And
excellent.
right, so we have Jeffrey Talanian, we have Tom Wilson of ShireCon and Throwy Games.
God,
That guy.
Tony, you're off for the start. I don't know. Okay, keep going.
2 for 2. And then we have Del Tiegler, artist extraordinaire.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
He's coming out from Flint, Michigan, to grace us with his presence. He's also doing some artwork for us, guys. It's going to come out. He's got one piece coming out this month, and a couple other things. He's actually designing my logo for my LLC, which is Galahad Games LLC. And then he's also got 2 other pieces that he's going to put out for the con itself that we'll release leading up to the con. The first major art piece I shared with Eric, which was done by Chet Minton, who is our next special guest.
All right, now that guy, there's some talent there. Okay, I'm giving you A+ for Chad. This man is very extremely talented. You get the cover of my wall. So no, yeah, look at that talent. Look at that talent all over them. Look at that talent. That's
some good stuff. I mean, is there any way to get that image up already, or should I just share it later? I don't know.
Give me a moment. I will add it. Hold on.
Eric makes all the magic happen.
I try to make all the magic happen, but sometimes the magic evades me.
So Tony, this is your inaugural year, your first year, obviously.
That's not what I wanted, but it's close.
There it is. Okay,
I need to get the fold. So hold on. We gotta get the fold.
So there's actually another image that is.
Hold on.
I'm gonna get a bunch of kids playing Dungeons and Dragons at the very bottom of it. And then, of course, I'll rattle off. I'll do a quick. The other special guest.
This is why we're closing in on 10,000 subscribers. It's just kick-ass,
It's uploading on my side, but yeah.
This is why the magic happens, folks.
The magic is magic.
There it is.
Hey. That's just great. Is that supposed to be Talanian at the head of the table standing?
That guy's got way more hair.
Hey, listen, you can think whatever you want. I mean, I can confirm or deny.
With hair, that's the thing that's exciting.
Yeah, there's hair.
And listen, what you guys don't understand is back in the day, he actually did have hair. I just want to let you know that.
I'm fairly certain that Talanian didn't just have hair. He had righteous 80s.
He did. I mean, he had just long mane of hair back in the day when
he made Eddie from Stranger Things look bald. Yeah, he was. I've seen some pictures of his metal years, and it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
All right, so we mentioned Chet. So what else we have? We have Ian McCarty. Ian McCarty from Silver Bullet is going to be at OSR Con. Yeah, so you know what I mean. He's
all right. Yeah.
Local guy.
He's all right. Thanks a lot, Mike. You're just the best.
Actually, your guest list is very, very awesome. Might be better than our first guest list. I mean, come on.
And then, of course, his first special guest nod is Matt Roberts.
Oh my Lord!
That's okay. That's a mistake, right, Jim? I mean, you're with me on that.
You aren't prepared.
He deserves it.
I hope you didn't sign the Matt Roberts rider where you have to pay for the alcohol because you will be bankrupt.
No.
You will be bankrupt.
Or as Chet likes to call him, Floby Wan.
Floby Wand. I love that, and I'm going to use that every day going forward. He does. He's got the most impressive mane of hockey hair imaginable, right? It's just this. It says everything Boston and Masshole, and it's all just one creative flow. Yes. I had Matt on a phone call one time on in my Bluetooth in the truck. And my son was in the truck, and I said, I'm going to be talking to my friend Matt. He might say some things. And I'm not kidding. Matt dropped the F-bomb like 18 times in 3 sentences.
I was just saying hi, too.
And the best part is he used it as a noun, a verb, an adjective, and an adverb. And when we got off the call, my son was just like, that's Matt Roberts. And I was like, yes, it is. It was great. It was perfect. But he's legendary.
I asked him for a picture because I was doing the special guest reveals, and I was like, do me a favor. I want you to send me a picture. I texted him this. I said, send me a picture of your best Keanu Reeves flowing majestic picture that you can muster. So we went down into the old tavern, and he turned on like industrial grade fan.
Yes,
and
it was flow. It was just yes. I can't even.
Did you get him posing? Did he pose with a Fiend folio? because he
Yes.
famously owns like 1,000 theme folios for whatever bizarre reason.
Yes.
He's going to be
Yes.
buried with
Yeah, he
like
cornered the
the
market.
pharaohs were the pyramids. They're going to put all the theme folios in there, and they're going to lock the doors behind it. And somebody will find it in the future and think that theme folio was our Bible because this guy had so. Why did he have so many in his tomb? So, oh man,
I
That's
remember
one of
he
my
told
favorite
me
Matt
when,
Roberts stories, right? That
so
here he is buying collections, and lo and behold, like he ends up with 230 Fiend folios, which is just, again, it's the
he
most
gets
Matt
one on his
Roberts
birthday
story
every year.
ever. Oh,
That's the story. He gets one on his birthday every single year to add to his collection. I mean, I don't know if he stopped, but I remember that was the thing he was doing every year on his birthday. He would buy one because that's the one thing he can't live without.
no, absolutely not. So that's a killer guest list. That's the kind of guest
yeah,
list that small
you got
cons would just
some good
dream
dudes.
of having.
There's good dudes on there, and they look. Everybody you mentioned, they all attend North Texas too. So we love those guys. They're great guys. I mean, they're all Tom, all those guys. Tom, Jeff, Matt. I mean, they've all donated to the con. They're just great guys.
They're
Ian,
righteous dudes.
yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. They're I would game with
Absolutely
that
righteous.
table any day of the week. Those are all that's a very 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 salty list of people. I like it. I like it quite a bit.
Well, and I'm jealous, right? I wish I was close enough to like make the foray for this expedition, right? Like this is exactly why smaller cons hit above their weight, right?
Yeah.
You're blessed with being in close proximity to some absolutely top tier talent and people in the industry. You've got folks willing to make a drive. I just, it sounds like a home run for your first show. And even if the numbers aren't quite what you're hoping for, who cares, right? You've already hit above your weight class. You're going to have people who will have a good time that'll pencil you in for next year, and it'll just grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
What's your venue like? So are people going to have a chance to eat? I mean, I know that there are some cons where food is an afterthought, but usually we try to tell people to like feed people so they don't collapse or. Oh my God, he's out again. We lost him.
Hold on.
Oh yeah.
There he is.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about the venue.
So I went a little obsessive compulsive at trying to find the best venue to hold a certain amount of people. I probably went through 6 or 7 different places to try to make sure that I had accessibility. I had parking. I had a hotel nearby, that it wasn't going to break the bank. Because at the end of the day, we know with these small cons, goal is to at least break even, and not to put yourself in debt trying to put something together. And I learned that from Tom. As a matter of fact, Tom and I have had many conversations about, putting this together. He's kind of been like my mentor on this. I've had many experiences at ShareCon, and it's always been a great time. And he actually put together a PDF how to run a small convention and shared it with me. And I have read this thing backwards and forwards to try to to figure out how to put this together, like how to reach out to collaborators. I've got Duck and Crow Press. That's going to be coming in. They're going to set up a table. They're going to be running some games. I've reached out to a few other vendors. I think we got some stuff in the works. I think Chet's going to set up a table. He's going to sell some of his art. It's just been a great good experience. But so with the Elks Club, there it fits 250 people. We're going to have a bartender on staff for the entire day. There's going to be a kitchen that's going to be open, that's going to be serving, cash only, of course, or credit for purchases like burgers, dogs, steak tips, anything that they have in the, like, it's all right there. Like, it's, no one has to leave and go anywhere. I mean, maybe for the dinner, they're going to have to figure out something, but at least for lunch, they'll show up probably after eating breakfast. They'll run and play some games. Lunch will be available. They might have to figure out what to do for dinner, but of course, I'll have a list of places that people can go to get something. I have a hotel block at the Holiday Inn nearby. I mean, this is all the stuff that like I was like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? And it's just it was in his how-to PDF, which is really great.
Tom does ShireCon, as our viewers may or may not know. He does ShireCon and puts on an excellent show, but he's just I call Tom's the hardest working man in gaming because he's always got like 18 projects going at any one time. So I'm not surprised he has a list somewhere of how to put on a con. That's very Tom's sphere of influence right there, because he is very prepared and very set in his ways. But yeah, he's just the hardest working man in gaming. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't just tell you to sit back and he would run the con. He'd run the con for you, because that's just
because he wants it to go well, right?
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And Tony, right? You know, the very first convention I went to was an agricultural hall that maybe had 100 people. You know, they had the same sort of, you know, hot dogs and hamburgers at the grill and so on and so forth. I was a teenager, and I think I was 13, and I barely remember a lot of it. But you can, you know, you start small and your costs are small. And I was having this discussion with somebody today that Mike and Eric and I know, and we were talking about an upcoming show, and they have a very large number of vendors, and a lot of it is overwhelmed with I'll call them craft vendors, you know, like I've got a 3D printer, and they've got a pile of people with 3D printers selling $60 dice towers and crocheted dice bags and so on. And the person I was talking to today said, you know, the problem with this is that people who come to your show only have X amount of dollars. And if you give them too many options, nobody makes money, right? And I love the notion that you just have a few tables. You've got a few people who are supporting the con. It's perfect, right? Don't let anybody tell you anything differently. That's absolutely spot on.
Well, and not only that, Jim, you know, not just too many vendors. You don't want to have too many vendors selling the same thing. If you got 8 guys selling dice towers, I go to a con, all I need is one dice tower, if one. So and I see that happen at a lot of cons, a lot of big cons. I mean, big cons that I could name here that you'd be like, oh, where they have too many people selling the same stuff. And they have a lot of vendors that get upset because they're like, well, I didn't sell anything. And I look, it's dice bags, it's dice towers. I mean, you can only buy so much of that, you know?
Well, and the other is I saw this at my local show this summer, which is I saw 4 different, it's a smaller show, Tony. I'm sorry. It's smaller than North Texas. No, it's a little bit bigger than North Texas, but there were 4 vendors selling the exact same 3D printed models.
Yeah.
And this is something to sort of keep an eye on and be aware of, and so on and so forth, right? Because your show's going to grow, and how it grows, you want to have a very firm hand on that, you know, learn the lessons, know what you want. So how did you get started? What was your first box set? How did you get into role playing?
So the first box set that was ever purchased in my house was actually my older brother, Mark, had my mom buy every BX box set that came out, 83, 84, 85, the red, they're right behind me. So we've got the red box, we've got the blue box, we've got the green box, we've got the black box, we've got the gold box. We have all of those. I've gotten these as adults to get those because we didn't know that those things were gold when we were younger. But right. I was 8 years old when he brought these home from Walden Books, and I was not in a position to really grasp the game. My reading skills weren't the best. My math skills weren't the best. We kind of goofed off. We did our own thing with it. And then a few years later, my oldest brother brought home the Rules Cyclopedia. It was printed in 1991. I think I have.
It's all 5 box sets in a single volume, kids.
There it is.
Nice. Look at that.
Yes.
Look at that.
And signed by Jeff Easley too.
No way.
Yeah, nice.
God, quit showing off.
I had a conversation with him about that. So yeah, that was 1991. We played basic D&D for a few months, And then we stumbled into a friend of ours. He had a comic book store called American Hero Comics, and he had an ad up to play second edition Dungeons and Dragons. And myself, my two older brothers, and a few other gents got together, and we started playing D&D every Tuesday. And we started saying to each other, "We'll see you next Tuesday." And then we coined the phrase "Nights of Next Tuesday," and we've been meeting every Tuesday since then. And that was May of 1991.
That's amazing. That's
wow,
great.
that's great. That's just awesome. I used to work at a Walden Books. I worked at Walden Books. 1052 was the number, and I always love it when somebody does a shout out for Walden's. Jeffrey Talanian always mentions it. He was a big Walden Books guy, and I think if I remember correctly, I think there was a ton of Walden bookstores in the Northeast, particularly through Massachusetts and so on. So, great stuff. Love always hearing that. So why is it you have a championship wrestling belt on the rack behind you? I think we need to know. I think there's a story there.
Yes, there is a story behind that. So a few years ago, I think it was Gary Con 2022.
Okay.
I came up with an idea to run a no holds barred Hyperborea tournament to the death, with the champion getting his name etched on a championship belt, because most gamers, just like myself, grow up as wrestling fans. So every year, this belt is won or lost at various conventions. Right now, that tournament is held at North Texas. So it is the Pugna Regalum Esque Ad Mortem, which is Battle Royale to the death. And the winner, let's see if I can, becomes
immortal.
Oh, just like the Stanley Cup.
Well, hold on.
Nice.
Let me zoom in.
As you win, you get your name etched
on the belt
itself. And David Proudfoot won last year at North Texas, and he will be defending his title this coming year.
Oh, I love it. That's amazing. Great. That's awesome.
Tony, maybe I missed it. I was a little late. What are you looking for in attendance wise? How many people are you looking for your first year?
Honestly, 85 people.
So if about 100, you'd be super happy if you got 100 people.
I have 2 badge levels. There's founders badges, which I only have a couple left. If you buy a founder's badge, you get your name on the masthead. You get a T-shirt included with it. You get to pick your games a week early. And then I have a second level, which is just regular congoers, which I have a couple of badges sold for that too. So honestly, I think I have 4 founders badges left that are available, and then the rest are just a regular congoer. But that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's just, even if the difference of the two, like, you're still going to have a great experience with the badges that are left. I'm not trying to talk one down to the other, but like, I think that we're going to do a great job with just having a good time, just not taking anything too seriously, because as we've mentioned time and time again, that really what brings us together is the passion for gaming and not losing the innocence of what it was like when we were kids to first play this game. I mean, if it's D&D for you, or if it's Castles and Crusades for somebody else, or Swords and Wizardry, it doesn't matter. If it's Shadow Dark for the person who in this generation that's playing these games, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. I know OSR, old school revival, and old school renaissance. For me, it's old school role playing, person to person, rulings versus rules, just the heart of the games that we play, and that's really what I'm going for.
Look, there is nothing wrong with starting off small and building. And matter of fact, I think a lot of cons would benefit by that, because a lot of times they get in over their head by planning too much their first year or their first couple of years even. And look, we had 55 people our first year. We're built up now to where we have, we cap it at 600. And we could have a lot more. Obviously, we do no advertising except I pimp it on this show. We still have 6. We sell out every year, But there's nothing that's how you learn, man. You start off small, you figure out what works, what doesn't work. The next year you build a little bit on that, and you go from there, and you just side your comfort level, right? I mean, that's
Right.
Look, Jim and Eric and I have all been to cons, and we've seen cons that are beyond their comfort level. Like, this con would be a little better with maybe X amount of people than X amount of people, and we've all seen that. And I think people have a lot more fun at a convention where you have, like you're doing, you have special guests, you've got food, you've got drinks, you can just hang out, you can game. There's you're not going to be crammed in there. It's going to be great. It's very laid back, and that's the whole reason why I mostly just go to smaller cons nowadays. I just want to relax. I don't want to battle crowd. I mean, my Gen Con days are long over at this point.
Oh God.
Unless you're Jim and you have to go to, you're contractually obligated to go to Gen Con.
There's one gentleman that I haven't discussed yet. Hold on one second. So,
He's got more props. I love it. We're seeing a lot of your backside, Tony. I mean, there's some women in the audience, so that's great. They're going to be all over that.
Yeah, they're getting
all right.
We appreciate the reach around.
Oh boy.
A Jim Ward Spellfire card autographed by Jim Ward.
Yes. There will be there's going to be tables in his honor, gentlemen. I've decided to set aside a table for individuals who haven't signed up for a game or are just carousing that would like to play Spellfire.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
A bold choice, Cotton.
Let's
hear more about this.
So, I never played it.
Is anyone familiar with this card?
I don't really have a lot of people that lead with Spellfire. So I mean, it's a bold territory and a bold move. So let's hear more.
Next, you're going to break down Dragon Dice.
Is it a drinking game?
It's going to be in memory of Jim Ward. But for those who know the story of Spellfire, he came up with this idea for a card game, and they didn't have any money left in the books. So they had to recycle art, as the story goes. So they used all of but we didn't know that. As fans, we weren't aware that was going on in TSR. So as true TSR purists, I gobbled those cards up because I was like, I wanted to get, like, if I could get Needle, if I could get the card Needle, you know what I mean? Like, if there was different art pieces that I could get as I was collecting these cards. I collected them because of that. There was an enthusiasm of this card game for those who are D&D enthusiasts. I don't know, we all know how everything ended up, but and it was Jim's baby. Like, that's I've gotten a chance to talk to him a few different times at GaryCon about what it was like to put the card game together, and I have a lot of fond memories of our group getting together and being like, hey, let's not play D&D tonight. Let's just play Spellfire.
Tony, you have got to post about this in the Spellfire group on Facebook or wherever. Because, dude, there are people in the Northeast who are going to come out of the woodwork with dusty cards that are going to be finally having a chance to play after 20-odd years. And I'm not joking, right? I think it's a great idea. I think it's hilarious, and I enjoy it, and I love your passion for it. I just, as soon as you held the card up, I have one. I got it at Gen Con in 93 when they had it. So I know exactly that. As soon as you held it up, I knew that card was. That's awesome. I think that's just, that's your niche. That's like, I own Spellfire. You could do a lot worse, Tony. You could do a lot worse.
That's your Witch Mountain. Yes.
That's your Witch Mountain, my friend. That's your Witch Mountain, and you should lean so hard into this.
Lean into it like you've never leaned into it.
That's right. Abso-flippin'-lutely. Because, like, okay.
Well, that game's unlike Witch Mountain, that game's probably fun to play. So right there, you've got scoreboard.
That's just terrible. Oh my God. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I think that's spectacular. That's a home run. That's an absolute marketing.
That's the kind of thing that look, Jim and Tony and Derek, that's the kind of thing a small con could get away with. Whereas bigger con, we're like, no. We got to use this table for something important because we have 3,500 people coming. So we got no. You guys can do it. You guys are are unleashed from any expectations. You can do whatever the hell you want. Yeah, I mean, if you want to, Tony, I can send you a Witch Mountain. You can have a Witch Mountain tournament. I mean, you can do whatever you would like there.
You don't want to do a Witch Mountain tournament.
No,
Just
you don't. But I was just using that as an example. Okay. Stay with Spellfire. Stay with Spellfire.
yeah.
That's right.
But
Much
you know,
safer.
no,
That's
that's
right.
great. That's great. That kind of thing is what is going to set you apart, and it's going to be fun, and people are going to, think. I mean, we have a few. I mean, North Texas, obviously, we have the chariot races, we have the gladiator tournament. There's things that we do that a lot of cons don't do, and
Yeah.
I just think it does set you apart. So I think that's great. I think that is
Genius. It's
yeah.
absolute genius, right?
And it's coming to North Texas. I'm doing a Wednesday night during the pre-con Get It On. I submitted an event just to set up a table or two for up to 8 people. I'm going to have 8 decks. And I'm going to just be like, hey, just want to hang out, like have a couple of drinks,
I don't know
and
how to tell you this.
Spellfire and have a good time.
I will not be drunk enough to do Spellfire on Wednesday night.
You have to go through the rest.
I like you a lot. You seem like a nice guy, but yeah, I would really have to sprain my liver so bad I'd need a splint to like start throwing down Spellfire cards.
Don, no. Okay.
Don, you're high. Stop it. Just go back to making R2D2, buddy. Just take a step back.
Wait a second. That sounds like a great idea, Don.
My God, if we I tell you what we should do. We should do it. We should do the Spellfire game, but we should have like narration of what's going on. Like I'd be willing to do that part. Like I'd have some fun with that, but I'm just no. So do you have like a target number, like 50 people, 100 people? What are you what would you ideally like to see?
So the badges that I have in tabletop are 85, but I mean, if we get a little short of that, like it is what it is. I mean, I'm just, I guess the goal with the first, when you're trying to do something like this is just to have it take off.
Absolutely.
And have it succeed.
Absolutely.
And break even. And make it so it's not like something like it's a failed experiment, it didn't work, and then nice try, and are you going to go
you're not overpromised? No,
that's right.
Perfect. You did it right.
You want to make it worth the drive, and it sounds like you've got all the bases covered. The guests just like as long as they come out without contusions and scratches, that's good. People have food on site, that's great too. It's one day. It's not like you're asking for a 4-day commitment. I think I think you've got a real sweet spot for the first year. I think it's a spectacular idea.
Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah, that's just great. And the con's going to develop its own flavor, right? Because how far are you? You're northwest of Boston, so like you're an hour and a half from Boston, hour and a
not even 45 minutes.
Right. So you heavily promote this. You go for 85% sellout of tickets before the weekend. You've still got badges there. You've got constraints on size just because of the venue. But I mean, really and truly lean into all the fun parts of this, right? Because more than anything else, and Mike, I heard this about North Texas forever, which was it's not a game convention, it's a family gathering.
Yep.
And that's what you want, right? Like if Matt Roberts comes to your show, there's just Matt Roberts fans that are going to show up, right? They just want to be near him and touch him and
wow, that hurts.
Run fingers through his hair and so on. But my point is that Matt talks about it on the tavern. Jeffrey talks about it, but you could do a lot worse than to have a nice, easygoing Massachusetts own that weekend, right? Like, oh shit, Saturday I got to go to the OSR con, right? Like you make sure it's on calendars and so on and so forth. And even if they just stop by for a couple of hours, if they hit your vendors, if they play some Spellfire, a sentence I've never uttered, but I'm excited to try. As long as that happens, you're good to go for next year and so on and so forth. And the hotel, and Mike can talk to this, the hotel is going to be, you're going to say, okay, out of the block, how many rooms did we use? How many rooms did we fill up? Next year, we're thinking about going to 2 days, Friday and Saturday. What can you do for 2 nights and so on and so forth? You don't want to compete with, you're not competing at the hotel with some giant wedding and so on and so forth.
Not that's the great thing about a January con is you're going to be wide open, and they're probably going to be happy you're there and you're filling up rooms in January. I mean,
it's April.
It's April. Right. No, that's right.
We'll get him there.
But you're not going to have you don't really have baseball is really not cooking yet too much. I mean, there's not a lot of things going on in April that you're gonna have to worry about in that area, and they're gonna be happy that you're putting people in rooms. And so once you build a relationship with the people at the hotel, good things happen. So
and
the Elks Club can actually fit up to 250 people, so it has room to grow if I decided to use the venue, which I foresee myself being here. Will be for the next 3 years. And if I can grow it from 80 to 150 and so forth. So
I think that's a great thing to work out with them and say, listen, here's the deal. If everything goes well, and I think it will, I'll be ready to ink the contract for the following year on Monday, right? Like I want this to be, I want to own that space every year for the next couple of years going forward and so on and so forth. I think you nailed it when you said they can take up to 250, right? That's fabulous. And if you can put 150 people there buying food, they're going to be tickled to death just because it's a bump in revenue that they might not have had otherwise. And that's spot on. That's absolutely spot on. I don't know. It sounds awfully exciting. So what's the game besides Spellfire? What's the game that you're most looking forward to running or is it Hyperborea? Is it?
So I particularly run second edition AD&D and Hyperborea.
Gotcha.
I probably will not be available to run any games at my own con because I'm going to be running around doing a bunch of stuff.
That's right.
But I'm also not restricting anything.
Your head cut off.
With as far as I'm concerned, I think I have someone running Neon Lords of the Toxic Wastelands, which I hear is a great game. But I'm not really putting a restriction on anyone who wants to submit events, because at the end of the day, for me, it's just the spirit of gaming. Of course, there's a focus on old school D&D. I would like to see more BX, first edition, second edition, if possible. I think Tom is running a Dragon Slayer game, which I think is going to be awesome. And of course, Jeffrey Tillany will be running Hyperborea. There is a special guest room that will be running events throughout the day. And I think that's going to be an awesome draw because it's private, it's set aside, and it's going to showcase whatever those GMs are running for those slots. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm looking at the website, the special guest room. That's nicer than anything we have in North Texas. We don't have room for those guys. I mean, it's just, just if you want to, if you want to go to the concierge, you pay for the concierge. We're not helping you out there. So that's pretty nice. I'm looking right now.
So if you're looking at the website, you can actually see the amount of space that the place has. I mean,
it's humongous. Yeah, it's gigantic. We were shoved into La Quinta our first year, and it was a chore. It was a chore to fit 3 tables in there, and they had a big closet. We stuck another table in the closet, and that was for Matt Finch to run his games in the closet. So make whatever jokes you wish out of that. But yes, we ran games in a closet. So that is some wide open spaces there. That's going to be awesome, man.
Well, and the best part is you got room to breathe, right? You're not going to be taxing the air conditioners. Yes, there's nothing worse than walking into a con and getting hit by the smell of men enjoying themselves.
Because so many cons, Jim, and you've been in cons like this, because they try to maximize their space via people. And you don't look, the first time I went to Gen Con, I was appalled because I figured, okay, it's a big con, right? And they're going to have this. No, they had tiny little rooms with 6 tables in there where people were back to back at Gen Con. I'm like, what are they doing? And we're talking, 35 people in a room that had capacity of 30, and that's stretching it. The 30 was stretching it. And I was just really disappointed. A lot of things I saw when the first year I went to Gen Con, because I figured they would have it all down. I mean, they're going to be wide open. It's going to be this gigantic area. And they really weren't. And since then, I've seen a lot of cons like that. There's like, okay, look, we've got this room here. We need to stick as many people as humanly possible in this room.
Right.
And that is just always a terrible strategy. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, and the noise factor in those situations really dampers the joy of gaming, because all you're doing is hearing the game next to you, and you can't hear yourself think, especially when you're I mean, a lot of this stuff, guys, if you're taking it seriously while you're gaming, is critical thinking, and have all that noise to be dampening that, it doesn't make the experience isn't fun anymore.
And there's always one table that's louder than all the other tables.
That's right. And it'll be
they don't think they're that loud, though.
It's going to be the Spellfire table. They're going to be so excited to play. There's going to be dust billowing from the cards. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be the Dragon Dice table next to the Spellfire.
Oh my God, that's it. Next year you do Dragon Dice as well.
Hey, Dragon Dice is still available for sale.
Oh
my God, Noble Knight will be like, what the hell happened? Why are we selling Spellfire and Dragon Dice?
Dragon Dice, somebody bought the rights to it. They're still
my God, there's going to be a guy. There's going to be a guy
Are
with
you
a
serious?
wheelbarrow of Dragon Dice.
Yes. There's still, you can buy new Dragon Dice.
Stop.
Or old Dragon Dice repackaged. I have no idea. But somebody bought the rights to Dragon Dice.
There is one born every minute.
I mean,
there were some cool
the
Dragon
Spellfire thing. It's more. I mean, in my opinion, it's just more of a nostalgia thing. I mean, it's at the end of the day, we can take it in a grain of salt, but like,
dude,
with
we're not,
especially
we're not
the
making fun of you, right? Tony,
no, I get you. But like, no, like, when it comes to like,
I mean, I love On the Edge, the Atlas collectible card game, and that's my like 3-dimensional loser passion, right? Me and a guy in Fargo, we're it. That's it at this point, right? I still haven't completed my set. Oh God. So
yeah, I mean, it's more of a sharing stories about Jim Ward and just kind of hanging out and throwing those cards down and just goofing off, and I think I mean, he just did so much for our game and so much for our hobby, and I mean, for me, because it's an opportunity for me to just kind of share my fandom of just getting it. I mean, honestly, when I would go to GaryCon, he was like the one person out of all the other special guests that I always enjoyed just kind of hanging out with and chatting about the old days, and just hearing him and Larry Elmore, in my opinion, just hearing about what it was like working for TSR back in the day, and hearing the story about like the dice debacle when the Blooms were trying to do their own dice, and Jim was like, listen, I need to order this dice from China or else we're going to have this problem. And then one of the Blooms was like, no, like, listen, I have these molds. We're going to start making our own dice. And he's like, it's not going to work. And the dice were awful. The dice were just garbage. And like, he had to like do an emergency order one year to China to get these dice to fill the box sets. And it was, just hearing him tell the stories is really cool stuff.
So Tony, did you ever hear Jim talk about how he met Gary Gygax the first time?
Actually, no, I did not.
So this is like you and I had, like, I grew up idolizing Jim Ward for Gamma World, Metamorphosis Alpha, the whole 9 yards. But this is what really sort of gets to the heart of this, right? Because you're going to have unfortunately a lot of your attendees are going to look like us, right? They're going to be older guys, and that's fine, right? But you're going to have some kids. You might have one, you might have two, you might have five, whatever. But this is the really great story that really hits to the heart of our hobby, which is, Jim Ward's working as a teacher, and he used to go to the same store with paperbacks, and every once in a while he'd go and he'd buy a bunch of paperbacks. So he bought the John Carter Warlord of Mars books, a lot of the Conan stuff and so on. But he's in the store buying paperbacks, and Gary Gygax is there. And sees what Jim's buying, and they get into a discussion, and he says, hey, I make a game where you can do exactly what you're reading about. Like, you can rescue the princess, you can kill the monsters, and so on and so forth. And that's how Jim got an invitation to Gary's table. And I wish more people would remember that. I wish more people would think about that as far as conventions. It's why a demo table, like, let me run you through a 15-minute introduction to role playing. Just something like that, where then afterwards you give the kids dice, or you give the kids something beside. My son at Gen Con 10 years ago did a Paizo Pathfinder event, and he still has the folder. He still has the character, the folder they gave him, the whole 9 yards. And every time there's been a purge of his room of stuff he doesn't want, he has never thrown that away. And I think that's something a lot of people miss, right? Because you may not have more than a couple of kids running around the con, but there's going to be somebody who doesn't know what all of this is about, or has heard about it, or whatever. And you've got a great chance to introduce people and show them what it's about. And I just throw that out there, because if Jim Ward hadn't bumped into Gary Gygax buying a bunch of Conan paperbacks, think of how things would have been different. It's just that once in a lifetime meeting, and it's a great story. Jim used to tell that story, and I just really was always fascinated by that. It's not that they might not have bumped together at some point, but it's that unbelievable. It changed Jim's life completely changed his life, and I just love that. Draw Jim came out of that, Draw Ridge. Sorry, it's just great. I love the art on the wall behind you. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite pieces of his.
Yeah, so that's Larry Elmore. That is my favorite art piece that he has produced. But what's interesting about it is it's also his too.
Really, I did not know
Yes.
that.
So he's my second favorite TSR former employee. Larry Elmore, just because of the box covers that he did, the art that he's produced. I tell him that I see the game through his eyes on how he has painted, what he has produced, and seeing it has enthralled me as far as a gamer. And I were talking to him at Gary on a few years ago, and I told him that it was my favorite piece. And he said, "It's mine too. I still own the original, and I will never get rid of it."
Wow, I did not know that. That's really, really cool.
And then I proceeded to ask how many times he used the name Jack Fred on a piece that he designed. Is anyone aware of the name that he would use when he would do a piece that he wasn't particularly proud of? He would always sign it Jack Fred.
I did not know that.
That's great.
Yes, it was. If he said, a lot of times they would put him on an unrealistic deadline of having to produce something. If he would produce it in haste and wasn't proud of it, he would sign it Jack Fred, because he wouldn't put his name. He's like, "I'm not putting my name to that. I'll put Jack Fred."
I'm actually sending a note to somebody about your love of Jim and Dragon Dice to have him reach out to you, just because you need to. We're going to connect you with somebody who's as large a fan of Jim Ward. So bear with me for a second while I'm typing this. So you're going to have a lot of fun. I guess what's the thing you hope people carry away from the show more than anything else? Or I'm sorry, from the con more than anything else. What's the thing that
Well, it's fun.
you go home on Sunday?
Fine to call it a show, but I just want a place. What I want them to take away is they had a good experience with a good group of people that focused on what brings us together, and that's the love of tabletop role-playing games. Where there's so much going on in the world today. I mean, there's so much out there that divides us, and there's so many political stances we can take on one side or the other. But at the end of the day, we can all come together. We can sit at a table. We can be civil. We can play a game. We can roll dice, have a great time, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have forgotten that lesson these days. I wish more people could
Yeah.
figure that out. Unfortunately, it's tough to it's tough for a lot of people because I think they get wrapped up. I think people get wrapped up in their political identity because they live in a bit of an echo chamber about that, and their social media feed is reinforcing their contacts of who they speak to more often than not. I think it's much more useful to have a broad base of friends, and you can certainly disagree with them. But when you sit down at a table and you roll dice, it's much easier to let it all go and just get caught up in the game that you're trying to participate in than to be sort of tribalistic and say, well, I'm not going to play with this person. I'm not going to, I have a lot of people that friend me on Facebook, and I see a lot of things come over that politically, I do not agree with. And for the most part, I give people a chance. Like if it's constant, if it's just a nonstop barrage, I'll unfollow them on Facebook. If it's something where they just can't help themselves and it's 25 posts a day, I unfriend them. I just don't have time for that. I just don't. If you want to get caught up in that, you're welcome to. But I'll be at the podium as an auctioneer, and it's no politics. If I play in a game, I'm not coming in to discuss what's going on in Antarctica and are the penguins going to throw a coup. I don't care, right? I say that and I don't mean that in a mean way, but when I want to roll dice and I want to pretend to be an anti-paladin and I'd like to murder all of the Kinder, I don't want the real world intruding on my moment of peace and zen as I behead Tasselfoot and anything else Kinderwise that's in my way. I'm just old fashioned that way. But
I'm all for you
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah, Tassel
yeah, I have no love of Kinder. Anybody
You
who
don't
calls
have to
me
be an
on Twitter-
anti-paladin to do it either. You could
anybody who calls me on Twitter knows how much I hate.
I must have lost it stuff can only go so far when it comes to you stealing my stuff.
Oh, dude, the moment I catch you with a hand in my pack, you're going on a pole, and not in a good way.
We're gonna pike you. Yes,
That's right.
I'm just borrowing.
Ah,
It's funny that you mentioned the anti-paladin because behind me is actually the Dragon magazine that actually the anti-paladin was in, and it also includes the good hits and bad misses chart I use in all gaming whenever I run second edition at conventions. I always hand the good hits.
I love that somebody says, "Watch the Kinder mob me." I got news for you. I can stack Kinder like Delta Force. Bring it. I am not afraid.
you're ready. You're taking the challenge.
I don't even see it as a challenge. I see it more as a community service event. But whatever.
I'll be back.
This is just delightful.
Technical difficulties.
That's okay. You said Kinder, and then it all just went sideways. I
Right?
mean, really and truly, Tony, I think you're spot on for what you're trying to do in your first year. I think you're smart enough to know your limits. I think that, and I don't say that you're limiting yourself in a bad way. I think you're just like, okay, so these are the bumper rails that I'm setting up, and I don't want to go past this, and so on and so forth. The worst thing is you could all of a sudden wake up on Saturday morning and have 300 people that want to walk in and be a part of your show, and you're just going to have to say no. I don't think you'll have that problem. It would be a great problem to have. But I think
Right.
growing in baby steps, we see cons stretch all the time. And we see cons try to grow in ways that it's not organic growth, it's forced growth.
Right.
You don't need 600 special guests. You don't need 300 vendors. What you need is enough of a draw to get the kind of numbers that you need to support the con. You need to have appropriate limits on vendors so that you don't have 8 people trying to sell the same thing, and your quality vendors, the ones that support you from the get-go, they're the guys that you bring back year after year. They build a following. They make enough money to want to come back to your show. I think it's important. I think that's important, and you've got some great notes that you've cribbed. I think we're all dying to see that PDF now, so I'm very interested to see. I think that's an episode we've talked about doing an episode on starting a small con, and I think we'd like to see that just because it would be a
Yeah,
great
I'm
idea.
sure Tom had some excellent advice. He's a smart guy. So
Yeah,
definitely.
Tom's no fool, and you could do a lot worse than listen to Tom. You could listen to us. I mean, that's the first mistake right there. But,
So to talk about a first year con, and then throw Jim Ward in there too. Doug and myself and Zach Glazer and Rob, my brother, once headed East Texas, Tyler City Rose Con to see Jim Ward because Jim Ward was going to be a special guest there. And we're like, well, Jim's only going to be like an hour and a half away. Let's head there and hang out with Jim during the day and, spend the night or whatever. So we went there, we drive there. So this guy, he had like a Holiday Inn. And it was a pretty good site. It wasn't a small Holiday Inn. It was a big Holiday Inn. He did not double book it. He triple booked it. Triple booked the con.
ow.
There were so many people in there that when you went to the dealer room, you were in a line and you had to walk in a line. There was no space. It was so crowded, and you had to walk by a table. Once you walked by a table, you couldn't go back. You had to go through the whole thing and walk again. Jim had a table out there he was supposed to game in. We went and saw it. We said, Jim is not going to game at this table because, Jim had health issues. And there's just no way. I mean, where your chair is up against the guy's chair behind you. I mean, just packed full. And so Doug, being the magnanimous person he was, went and rented a private room. And oddly enough, this room overlooked the hall. It was like a king's room where you sit there and thumbs up, thumbs down. So he rented that. I don't know why nobody rented it. It was like $50 a day or something. And we had Jim run all his games in that room just so he wouldn't be subjected to this horrific crowd. Well, apparently they broke every fire code known to man in the city of Tyler. And they got very heavily fined. And the guy just got greedy. He got greedy because they had one of the Doctor Who's was there. They had a couple of big name guests. And the guy got greedy, and as the people kept signing up, he just kept taking their money and taking their money, and it was insane. It was so crowded, it was insane. I mean, it was, and I'm very glad that we were there and we were able to get Jim in a private room to run his games. Now, I also got one of those signed Jim Ward cards at that convention. I've told that story many times about surviving a Metamorphosis Alpha game with Jim, so we got a card. But it was a great experience. But yeah, that con, it should never have gone on. and the guy who ran it should have been thrown in jail for what he did because I'm
the guy that made those buttons. I'm the guy that made those buttons.
I am just another of Jim Ward's countless victims. Hold on, wait, let's bring it up.
Yeah, I made those.
There you go.
There we go.
I made those. I made those. We sold them at GaryCon. To try to raise money for Jim. I donated like 250, 300 of those to.
But the lesson is don't go full Rose Tyler.
That's right.
Tyler Rose gone because that the money's great. It's great that the guy made supposed to have 300 people and had 900. I guess that's great, but the experience for most people was horrific and. That the word of that gets around, people are, I'm not going back there. Oh my God, it was horrific. Because it was horrible.
So a couple of things, Tony. We're months away, and I think a thing I would throw out, and I think it's a good time to talk about this. Number one is send out an after the con survey to the attendees.
Absolutely.
I think what you want to do is get into SurveyMonkey and make a really great survey that says what did you like, what did you not like, and I'll tell you right now, you're going to have a couple of people who will give you some jackwagon responses where you're going to be like, go to your own jackyard and back yourself off. But you're also going to have some people that will say some things that you need to hear that might sting when you hear it, just because you didn't necessarily see it as a problem, but they see it and you got to be like, oh, okay. The other is have very honest conversations with your vendors and special guests. And ask them, I'm new. It's a small con. I can't thank you enough for attending. But how can we make it better for the special guests? Talanian says, well, first of all, I need a palatial suite. It has to have a hot tub. And nobody tossed the rose petals in front of me as I was walking along, and that troubles me. Then that's horseshit. But your vendors, and this comes. I mean, I'm sensitive to this just because I had a great conversation with somebody today who goes to a lot of conventions, who sells a lot of things at conventions, and he sort of got screwed over. And what I would say is talk to your vendors and listen to them about their experience. They need to cover costs, and that's important, right? Not just that, but they need to feel like you've got their back, so that if they come back next year, they are going to be the ones who get to pick where they set up their booths. If somebody's like, it was great and I sold a lot of stuff, but I was next to the hot dog stand and I now smell like hot dog water, right? Like, remember that and listen to that and be like, okay, so we got to address that for next year and figure out where we're going to put people and so on. And is your setup on Friday? Are you setting up on Friday before the show on Saturday?
So what's really cool about the venue is they're going to set up my tables in advance. But as far as official setup, as I bring in like the welcome area, any trimmings and setting up for vendors is like an hour before.
Okay,
I'm going to go do a walkthrough with them. I think like a month or two in advance. And then I think it's going to be in March, and I'm going to say I need these tables set up. I'm doing tablecloths. I'm going to have everything set up. They'll put the labels for each for at least the first set of games. Of course, as we go through the day, I'll have to get those replaced. But as far as coming in and doing like the setting up the welcome desk, the printer, my laptop to print any badges that day. And then the vendors coming in is going to be pretty much, I hate to say like a fire sale. It's just the way they do things. They won't let me sign up.
That's okay. So when you're doing your walkthrough, take pictures, right? And so, as a Wampset Games, this is where I'm thinking about setting you up. Is this okay with you? Send them a picture and get their, like verbal, oh, okay. I'm not setting you next to the hot dog stand because I don't want you to smell like hot dog water. I'm putting you here. Here's where the door is. Give them an idea of their space, what they've got, where they're going to be, so that they've got a chance to like, okay, I'm going to bring a table worth of stuff and so on and so forth. Ian McCarty might travel with some of his stuff and say, hey, is it okay if I just grab a table or offer stuff and so on? You'll figure all of this stuff out. But the biggest thing is just two-way communication. And we've seen showrunners who don't listen and don't pay heed to all of this stuff, but be the guy that listens, and you're going to be better than 95% of them that are out there.
Sure.
And that's important.
There's a lot of people smack talking Kinders going on right now. What's going on?
Dude, we opened the can of Kinder Whoop-Ass, and it is a large can. Don't worry.
Next will be Gully Dwarves.
I mean, really, the crossover we never got was Dark Sun going and taking out the Kinder. And I could have been there all
day. There was this period of time in the 80s, right after and this happens, I guess, all the time, but right where the Dragonlance books came out, every time you go to a game store to have a game, there's always that one guy that rolls up and he wanted to play a Kinder. And you could spot him a mile away because he'd read the Dragonlance and he wanted to be Tasselhoff. And we had a firm policy in our group. He died immediately. And then he was allowed to roll up another character. Because we weren't going to have that. The corollary to that is, in the late 80s, every time you had a game at the game store, some dude walked up and he had his Drow Ranger with two swords. He was going to roll. And so I would allow. It's okay. You have to realize though, Drow are universally despised and hated. You can't stay in town. I would give them the whole list, and then you would be shocked how people were like, "Oh well, no, I'm not going to do that." So they wanted to play.
Another drawback
character, but they didn't want to play him like he was in the book when he's despised and everybody hates him. Like, no, you're despised. Everybody, you're a Drow. Nobody knows who Drist is. Drist does not exist in my world. You're just a Drow with two swords. Everybody's going to try to kill you. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to be Drist.
Here's the thing, and even if Dritz does exist, he's one where, for the most part, as you said, those are hindrances. But the thing
He's a
is,
statistical anomaly.
Shouldn't be why you don't play the character. They should be why you play the character and still try to make it work.
These were all tourists. And I'm sorry, our hobby does have tourists. The people who wanted to play Tasselhoff and the people who wanted to play Driss, they were tourists. They read the books. They thought they were cool. But their imagination didn't extend past that. They just wanted to play the exact character. I mean, still look, early '80s, everybody wanted to play Conan. I mean, when I started playing, everybody, and look, I'm going to admit something, and I'm not proud to admit this. My first ever character I rolled up was named Conan the Barbarian. There we are, right there. 1978, I had a character named Conan the Barbarian, and that's just So every single generation has its. This is what my character is going to be, because I was introduced to the game because the guy that introduced to the game, my friend Dr. Joe, who I still know, he said, well, this is a game where you can be a guy from the Lord of the Rings, or you can be Conan. I'm like, I want to play this game because those are my two favorite things were Lord of the Rings and Conan. And so every generation you have somebody pop up and they're like, I want to play this archetype character that's popular right now because that's all my imagination can figure out. I can't go, I have to go in between the lines. I can't go outside the lines. So
the thing is, when you play that character, though, you got to start from somewhere. So let's, I mean, whether or not it's Conan the Barbarian, I mean, at the end of the day, he started as a slave taken from his parents. And he was, I mean, listen, I'm just quoting the movie, not necessarily the books or Robert E. Howard, but like literally sitting around that spindle, just walking and building himself. You know what I mean? Like, and then eventually he's got to go through the gladiatorial combat. I mean, he wasn't trained. I mean, and he didn't know that he didn't know the three most important things in life right away. Those things eventually he had to learn. And going back to the Dritz thing, I mean, if you play a Drow elf from the get-go, you're not going to get the Dritz respect right away. You've got to play your character first and deal with the hindrances that come with it. And then eventually, in the world that you've created, as you're playing that character, maybe you're going to turn some people around. Maybe people are going to say, this Drow is.
Yeah.
You're just like, you're too grounded in reality, my friend. Like, I don't know how to tell you this. I mean, I saw your shirt and I was all ready to talk about my 36th level Hierophant Druid Thrycreen with all the specializations and crystal stars. And now I feel like this is just, I have no purchase. I'm good. I'm out.
See, I want to know what it says about me.
You started third level.
My first character was a fighter, but I named him Cyrus after Cyrus Vance. That's a problem.
Oh my God, that might be the saddest thing you've ever said on this show.
I know. I was too politically aware at like 12 years old.
Weirdo. Yeah, that was nerd. Dude. Weird nerd. Yeah.
Cyrus.
I did play a guy did. Dr. Joe's character was named Gandalf also, and he was a mage. So we were kids. We were kids. It was the 70s. Uh-huh. We did crazy things. We experimented. We experimented with names, bad names, terrible names. We just did. Nobody told us. Nobody was there to tell us and to take us by the hand and say, no, you don't name your character after a famous fantasy character. Make your own way in the world. I had another guy. He used to name all his characters were named after characters in Eddings books, David Eddings books. Every one he ever had was a David Eddings character book. So yeah, that was. I
think it's a critical flaw. Let me call it a flaw of the gamers. There's nothing wrong with like your first. Because honestly, my first character's name was Galahad. Because
you went classic with that one. You went very classy and classic. Yeah, so that's there's no problem with that.
And it was BX Fighter who aspired to be a knight because in BF the knight.
Can I show you something really interesting I found this week? Since we're just kind of riffing right now. And It's not, no, Jim, it's not. Get that look off your face. It's not porn. So I pulled out Days of the Dragon 1980 calendar. Okay. And it's an open copy. I was like, I was looking through there. And you want to hear something awesome? You can use this calendar this year. I looked at every month, and sure enough, it matched up perfectly. And then I checked Calendar Finder. If you have a copy of the 1980 Days of Dragon calendar, you can use it in 2026, just as is. You can hang it up and look at that Darlene picture, and then every month's going to match out.
Day for day.
Yep. Days of the Dragon calendar 1980. I used to love these things, but I didn't even know until I picked it up and just happened to start looking at dates and said, this is matching up perfectly. And then there's an app you just Google online calendars to be used in year, whatever, and it tells you what calendars you can use for past years. And sure enough, I can use it. I'm going to use it this year. I'm going to hang it. I'm going to hang it on my wall and use the Days of the Dragon calendar 1980. How is that for serendipity? Just running across something magical like that. Absolutely magical. Oh, I can't hear Jim. Jim, no.
Overnight, the market for those calendars is just like eBay's going to explode.
Oh, did I mention I have 2 or 3 of these hiding somewhere? No, I mean, I probably do. I don't know where they're at, though. No clue. So, sorry, guys. I have no clue where they're at.
That's excellent. So we do have some stuff. I mean, Tony, we've got some stuff to talk about that we should talk about, and I think it would be great to sort of hear some thoughts. But I saw that there had been another round of hires at WotC. They've announced some other strategic hires. Did you guys see that?
I did, but I did not. But maybe you need to summarize because I did not.
No, so it's very interesting that they're rebuilding an inner cadre of people for designing going forward, and they've made 3 or 4 hires, and they've announced 3 or 4 hires in the last 6 weeks or so that I think shows you what they're trying to. I mean, it shows you the kind of talent that they're trying to attract and what they're trying to build towards, and I think. When people say what's coming, I think this is a good indicator of that. I think the bigger story that came out this week is the tax filings for the Gygax Memorial Fund, and some interesting things about that.
Eric, do you have? Can you tell us anything about that, or is that something you're going to talk about at some other future point?
And Eric is muted as well.
I'm muted. Yes, I'm muted. All right. So, let me pull up here.
Well, he was just waiting for us to ask Jim.
He's you.
He's
Let
ready.
Eric make you smile.
You know.
Hey, listen. I thought you were going to talk about how Gerald Brom was invited as a special guest for GaryCon, and so was Troy Denning. I thought you were going to talk about a release of Dragonland the Dark Sun, but
no.
So
Dark Sun's a no-go for.
Oh no, there's no way they're gonna slavery.
There's slavery. They're
cannibal halflings.
Here's the thing: I was very surprised to see them both of them be invited as special guests this year for GaryCon. I kind of thought that maybe
Brahms. We've asked Brahm before, and he told us. We said you could bring your wife, and he said he doesn't do cons anymore. So that's very unusual. He's going to GaryCon, which we asked him several years ago.
And Troy Denning, who we know wrote all the Dark Sun books.
Yep, so that's cool. That is very cool. They got them, both of them.
So Eric, what are we looking at here?
All right, so we're looking at the 2024 tax filings for the Gygax Memorial Fund. And if the most important things to look at is that in 2024, they ended the year with net assets of about $2,500, and they had liabilities of about $43,000. So essentially, $40,000 in debt at the end of 2024. So by the time the Kickstarter came around, I would assume that the debt was even deeper.
Right.
So,
So do we know what that debt was? Is it listed in the expenses?
I haven't looked at the details to it yet because I don't think it's all fully up yet. Only the snapshot.
Right.
Don't have access to the full details. That might take another few weeks. But even then, it doesn't say much. Okay.
It's interesting because it essentially means that they started 2025 with liabilities in excess of $40,000.
Yep.
Which I'm not sure how Obviously, we'll have to wait and see if there's additional filings. But am I wrong in sort of, does that mean they were 40K in the hole
They were
before the
40K in the
Kickstarter
hole.
even launched?
Right, at least. Because remember, this is at the end of 2024.
Right. It doesn't start at
You can look that their revenue has been minimal throughout this time. In 2024, they took in. Will it even show me? Looks like they took in about 20,000, but they spent about 50,000. So, and but the thing is with the Schedule O, as I've looked at them over the years, you would hope that they would give you like it was spent on X Y Z. No, it's like you know business expenses. Yeah. It isn't like what was it spent in business expenses. So you don't get details. You don't get granularity.
Right.
So I don't expect to learn much more than what we're seeing here, except for the fact that they were 40K in debt uh, a year ago. So the Kickstarter, as I've mentioned, I actually ran the Gygax the information that we had as of the end of 2023 into ChatGPT, and it told me at the time that I should expect to see a Kickstarter before the end of 2025, which we did see. Going to be interesting because that means the monies that were raised for the Kickstarter have to pay off the debt before you can do anything new.
I'm remembering this correctly, or if I'm not, please correct me. Is the table that the Kickstarter was financing, is that supposed to be in place this year, at the end of this year? I believe that was stated in the Kickstarter.
I believe it was supposed to procure the stone. It was supposed to move quickly. I don't know if it was going to be in place.
Now, there's a question. I believe I believe in the filings. I think isn't there a point that the officers don't have a salary of any kind? I don't think there's. I think there was a compensation list. I think.
Yeah, the first few years that Stormberg was part of the was one of the on the board, there was compensation, but there hasn't been for the last 2 or 3 years.
Right. Yeah, I remember that Alex Gygax was listed as a director. Paul was there as well, and there was no compensation for either of them. And there was a third person whose name I can't remember.
I believe it's Carpenter.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's just I think this is an interesting note. It does raise the question of did that debt carry over into 2025 and was addressed before the Kickstarter? Does the Kickstarter address some of the debt? Is the debt centered around design for the statues? I mean, we can keep saying the future's bright,
right?
But
Dan, we know it's definitely it's not salaries. We know that.
Right.
Well, that's going to be interesting because
from what I recall with the Kickstarter, there was multiple levels of things that. So you got your name etched. It was either, and it was set up as levels, and then with a certain level, you got a certain namesake, and then you would get either a placard, and then you would get like some sort of printed, official, and there was multiple levels of these,
there were probably too many levels for most Kickstarters because you get like information overload when you're trying to back.
It was convoluted.
Yes, that's one of the things that they often advise is keep it simple, stupid, when it comes to all these things. So, but yeah, they were. There were levels where you could get a brick or a placard for your gaming group or you or in memory of someone. Again, installation is supposed to be in place by Dragon Days, October 3rd to 4th, 2026. All right, so we got literally 10 months to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. So we'll see.
We'll just keep it
No,
on
it's
the
January.
yeah,
It's
keep
January,
on.
but it was an interesting filing. I thought that was a notable filing, just for the simple fact that there was obviously some sort of debt occurrence
Mhm.
in 2024 that they had to carry over into 2025,
Yeah.
and yeah, we'll see. So what else is going on? It's that time of year where I'm starting to see a trickle of Kickstarter project updates where things are, I got 2 or 3 this week where follow the link and download your file and so on and so forth. So I have to sort of make sure I'm following all that and watching all of that. Getting ready for North Texas's game day later this month, which is pretty exciting. I'm gonna run a play test, a very closed play test of something I've got percolating. I talked about it last week, I think. Mike, you're gonna be at game day, obviously.
Yeah, we had game day the last weekend of January. I've already talked to a lot of people out of towners. We got a lot of out of towners coming in. I don't, we don't really know how many people we're going to have. We kind of always play it by ear. It always kind of worries me because I'm thinking, well, what if we get too many people there? But
Oh no! Oh
yeah, that would
no!
be awful, awful. But no, I'm looking forward to that. It really hasn't hit me yet. Look, I've been out of the sphere of cons since Long Con, which is in November. So, it's going to take me a while just to kind of ease back in there. Although I'm going to run some games. I usually run 2 games every time. I pulled this out. I ran this 2 years ago. This was the first BX basic expert module that myself, Tom, and Charlie wrote. I ran it once. I think at the game day, our first game day last year. I believe I ran the barrel maze module. I pulled this out. I think I'm gonna run it again. Or I have one other one.
Oh my God! You scared Tony away.
I know. I'm sorry about that.
You're not sorry.
Vamp for a second as I look through my.
Oh, Rob Conley reached around. Thank you, Mike.
Ah, God! I didn't.
No,
need
you
that
didn't scare me with.
Oh, Rob Conley is the greatest sleep aid known to man. What's the black and white illustration you have on the shelf behind you, Mike?
Oh, let me tell you the story about that. So this is a very special. I dug it out of storage because it's been in storage. It needs to be reframed. The frame broke, and I need to reframe. This is a Roslov original. It is a copy of the cover of Q1.
If you'd hold it still, we could see it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Wow. Look at that.
So the story behind this is my original group, which consists of myself, my brother Robert, Dr. Joe, a friend of mine, Doug, that went to school with a couple other guys. We started playing in 1978. We got our characters up high enough to go through the Giant series when it came out. We went through G1, G2, G3. Then we went through D1, D2, D3. And then in 1984, we were ready to finish it off by G1, Queen of the Demon Pits. And we did. And we had the original characters. It took them 6 years to do it. Now, towards the end, we weren't gaming every week because everybody was out of town and going to college, different places. So we would game during the holidays, Thanksgiving or Christmas when everybody was home. So it took us 6 years. We went from first level all the way to Queen of the Demon Winds. And just a great memory we always had. And so when I got old enough to start talking to these guys online, Jim Roslow posted where he did commissions. And I'm like, well, what if I did him as a commission and I put the player characters as the characters? So these are the original. These are my friend's characters. It's my brother's, the dwarf with hold on. The guy at the bottom with the flaming sword, that's Ugor, the half-orc. Oh, and then there's the guy with the mace is St. Michael the cleric. The mage is an elven mage, Gandalin. That's Dr. Joe's. And then the dwarf with the sword up in the corner. He's hard to see. I don't know why it's so blurry. He's that's Kurgo. Jim was amazing because I told Jim what I wanted to do, and he wanted exact notes. You tell me exactly what weapons they use, what their armor looks like, well, everything. He wanted. I mean, he was really, really into it because he thought that was the greatest idea ever. He thought that was the coolest thing he'd ever been asked to draw, or at least he pretended. I don't care if it was real or not. He was just the coolest guy because he's like, this is so cool. I really want to do this right, and so just tell me, so I gave him what weapons they had, everything. So everything is exactly like those characters had. And so I had him do the artwork. He sent it to me. I have a whole little box of sketches he did of the characters to get it right.
Damn.
And then I made copies of all these, and I gave every original member of the group a copy. And so they all have a nice copy. But I need to get a new frame for that, so I have it there to remind myself. But that is probably one of the the House on Fire, I'd probably grab that because that has a lot of personal memories for me.
Sure.
Everybody in my original group, one guy passed away many years ago. He was kind of a hanger-on. He was a friend of Dr. Joe. He'd play when he came to town, but he wasn't a regular, but he passed away. But everybody else is still alive and kicking, and we're still playing D&D after whatever, that's since 1978. Matter of fact, this Saturday, we'll play another game of Dwarrow Deep, and Dr. Joe will be there, and my brother will be there. That's for the original group. Doug, our other friend, he unfortunately he has Parkinson's, and he can only make maybe 1 out of 3 sessions. He has some issues with Parkinson's disease, and so he tries to come as often as he can. But to me it's a tribute to what this game does for you and why it's so important. As Tony says, this is why you get convention stuff. You like to bring everybody together because it's lasting friendships and lasting memories. I mean, I can look at that, and when we talk about it, there's so many things, the memories that come of that campaign, and how amazing that campaign and the stupid stuff the characters did, and the time that one of them, Ganelin, was turned to stone by a beholder, and they couldn't carry him back, so they buried him in the just set in the depths and said, "We're gonna come back for him." Later. He goes, "Wait, you're just gonna bury my character?" We're like, "You're too heavy. And what if we dropped you and broke your arm off?" So I said, "We're gonna go back." I mean, they were way down in the descent in the depths, and we're going to spend 3 months going back. We're going to get a scroll of stone to flesh or flesh to stone. We'll come back and get you. And so he's like, and so
honestly, how much weight and mass does being turned to stone actually add to a character, though? That's the question.
Well, I think they were more scared they would drop him, or that I, as a DM, would do something insidious, like have him hit by a fireball. And so they go, okay. So they dug a hole, 20 feet down. They buried him, covered him up, hit it. And so he had to work an NPC for the next couple of sessions.
I love that the party was concerned that Mike would come up with a way to catch their friend on fire.
Never.
Or blow him up, or just drop him, or make a saving throw. Oh, Joe's arm pops off. Oh, that's gonna be a tough one to get back, And he knew I would do it too. So he's like, he reluctantly at a certain point, like, okay, yeah, you're right. And if you remember, if you played the D series, you could not teleport back to the surface. The strange waves or whatever would not allow you teleportation. So you had to haul your ass back all the way to the surface. And for some reason, they had forgotten to bring a scroll of flesh to stone. So their mage had gotten killed in that same encounter. So he would have been able to cast it. He was dead, and they didn't have a scroll. So like, okay, we'll be back to the surface. We'll come back and get you. But I mean, just stories like that, and you remember it just, and then we'll laugh, we'll tell stories about like the fact that they went into the Drow homeland. There was a guard tower, and they go, oh, listen. And so they killed everybody in the guard tower. Like, this is going to be a cakewalk. Hey, look, let's go attack that house over there. Well, if you've read the description in Vault of the Drow of the houses, it's like they're stacked full of, and so they ill-advisedly attacked the house and had to ignominiously retreat and run out of the vault and hide for about a week in the Underdark because they had a bounty on their head then. But just the stories like that, and that's the great thing about gaming. It's a great thing about friendship. So that picture means all that to me. I look at it and I always just have a warm glow of nostalgia. And I'm glad I made copies too, because something ever happened to it. All my friends have copies, and so I could get a copy. But that is the original. That's the Rosloff original. And the only thing that sucks is that Jim passed away not long after he finished that. Maybe a year later. I was going to get him to do more work for me because I just thought he's just the nicest guy that's ever done a commission for me. I've had other commissions done, but I've never had somebody that concerned about all the individual details, like what rings are they wearing. I mean, what kind of sword does he have? What is a flaming longsword? Well, okay, I'll make it. I mean, just everything that I gave him, all the notes, he took that all to heart, and I just think that's amazing that an artist that I consider, growing up, one of my personal heroes, along with Errol Otis and all those other guys, would just take that much time and effort to get it exactly right. I mean, God love him. I love Errol Otis, but if you've ever had a work commissioned by Errol Otis, he just does what he wants to do. You give him a general suggestion, and he just is like, okay, he doesn't want to hear your background character, your armor, what their underwear they're wearing. He's just going to go with your initial suggestion.
Get out of my way, kid. I got something to draw.
Yeah.
Yes, but absolutely, that's exactly what he does.
As my character is casting magic missile, his finger is crooked, just a certain way. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Got no time for that shit, kid.
No, I'll say I've DM'd Errol twice in my life, that was another amazing, bullet point in my life. But no, when it comes to commissions, he does not really care about all your little individual details. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of other guys had to do commissions. Most of the time, it was not something that exact. It was just like, easily. Can you draw me a dragon with a skeleton on the back? I mean, he could do that in his sleep. He has done that in his sleep. I know he's done that in his sleep, drawing a dragon with a skeleton on the back. So, but yeah. So anyway, I'm glad you asked about that, Jim. Like I said, that's just everybody should have a piece of art like that of one of your. If your hero is still alive, if it's Elmore or Easley or Jeffy or
next
whoever
week,
it is.
Next week, I always change out the original. Every week, I always change the original art out over my shoulder. And next week, I'll do something special. My group of friends that I played with growing up. One of them was my brother from another mother that I've known since 5th grade. His wife, my friend Matt, who Matt couldn't tell you the truth if his life depended on it. And we used to joke that there were still people in the Gobi Desert clutching maps to Mecca that his ancestors had sold them, and they had died just wondering, but the map, he was so nice, the map couldn't have been wrong. But when I moved away to Baltimore, my best friend's wife drew a wonderful picture of all of our old gaming group. And so what I'll do is I'll switch it out next week, but we'll do that, and I'll tell the story behind that. And
it's just, it's great because you have a whole story. It's not just the picture, because people see that and they're like, oh, that's cool, that's the cover of Q1, and then you tell them the other level. Well, that's our player characters went through, because they went through the whole GDQ venture. They're like, oh, that is really cool. Now I think that's awesome. I'll tell you something I've always had a regret about. I used to have a movie camera when I was I think I bought it in like 81, 82, and we just did dumb stuff with it. I had a really good job when I was in high school, and I had more money I know what to do with as a stupid kid. And I spent $500. God knows what that would be now. $500 in 1982 on a movie camera, and we'd film funny stuff, whatever. I filmed our last session, our Q1. I set the camera up, turned it on, and filmed our session. To this day, I have no clue where that VHS tape is.
Oh no!
Oh jeez.
There's a reason for that. Honestly, it's like you think about like some of the sessions that we've run and trying to film those things, and you wonder whether or not that those things should be viewed by the public.
Oh well, now we joke a lot now because the trend obviously with Critical Role is people that they film themselves playing D&D, and for the most part, I don't know what I kind of know what Eric and Jim feel about this, but it bores the hell out of me. I don't know what how you feel about it, but I don't like to watch other people play D&D. I can watch it for 5-10 minutes and then I'm out. So I never really got that. But we always joke that we need to have like a set up people can watch us play, because the F word may be used more than Matt Roberts is using it in one conversation.
Never.
I will say this.
You know what I mean? Like, where's this? Where are these games that are sent? That are filmed, that are shared, that are really just real authentic games that we have. That
I will say that I used to listen to I want to say, oh my Lord, I want to say it was like 18, 19 years ago. I was listening to a podcast where they were running people through the massive Nyarlathotep. And they had a mic set up in the middle of the table. They were recording the actual gameplay, and it got to Kenya. And no spoilers, but there is something momentous that happens in Kenya. And
Oh
the,
yes,
and the recording of that episode, like at the end of it, you can just feel the entire party is exhausted and horrified, and they've dropped bodies left and right. There's dead investigators. There's investigators that are clinging on to one sanity point, and the tone at the end of that podcast is one of absolute despair and horror. And it starts off, it's like, hey, it's the actual gameplay, and tonight, da, 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 da. And at the end of it, it's just like, yeah, and we're done. Good night.
No, visceral.
it was horrific.
It was.
We had the last. So just to give you an idea, the last session we had, John Law has a character who's a 16-year-old genius. He's the mage in the party with an 18 intelligence, and he made his character 16 years old. Now he's 18 now. He's age 20, and he has been having an affair with the turnip farmer's daughter, because every time he misses a session, we say his character's off doing naughty with the turnip farmer's daughter. That's our inside joke. And so then he comes back. What happened last session? Well, you weren't here. Your character was off with the turnip farmer's daughter. Everybody else is in the dungeon doing this. And so we give him a hard time about that. So the last session, they came back from a long journey in the Underdark, and he got shotgun wedding into marrying the turnip
nice
farmer's daughter.
Nice.
Yes, and I won't even share the comments that were given and the bachelor party that followed. The dwarves. Like, he's a human, and the rest of the party is dwarves. So he's the one human because they need a human magic user. We won't even delve into the dwarven debauchery that happened at his bachelor party for this poor 18-year-old genius magic user being forced to marry a turnip farmer's daughter, and eight rowdy dwarves are giving him a bachelor party. It was pretty epic. And so once again, one of those sessions that I kind of wish I had a camera for, and then I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I'd like to be able to walk among a healthy, innocent society the rest of my life without people going, that's the one, that's the DM.
That's the guy.
That's just in case you ever run for office. You don't want that stuff coming.
Oh, well, no, that's out of the question.
That's
I'm on Eric's show. We're on Eric's show. Of course, we can't run.
It's all recorded already. Yeah.
We'll never.
God, opposition research is going to pass out from they won't even.
Can you imagine, Eric? They have to watch every talking crit from the first one to get all the stuff, and they'll have watch them going, oh my God, what do we use? There's so much to use. What do we use against this guy? I don't get it.
But at least there's no grits wrestling in our videos, so we're good.
And there never will be.
Yeah,
we left the grits wrestling to the people who are no longer a part of the industry.
We avoided that, but no,
we dodged the grits bullet.
But I think you're right. I think there's a market out there for somebody just to run a regular D&D game and film it. Except that, I think I'd like that better than the actors that do it.
Definitely.
Because they're a little too into it sometimes, and it gets a little too dramatic. And I'm a little, I'm rolling my eyes a little bit. I just like to see a bunch of kids play, kind of like the Stranger Things kid. Just run a session and just give me something to laugh at and go. We do that too. Oh yes, we have a snack break. We do. All the things that happen. It's great to be able to look at that. I just think sometimes we've talked for years about how the Critical Role gives very unrealistic expectations to people, and I have had more than one person say, well, I like D&D, but the DM wasn't like Matt Mercer. Nobody is like Matt Mercer. I'm going to spoil everything for you. He does his games the way he does his games. Nobody does Matt Mercer. Nope. If you're going to play D&D, do not play it with the expectation your DM is going to be Matt Mercer. It will not happen. It's not going to happen.
Never in a million years. Now, I've got a question for you guys. Have you seen the secret finale for Stranger Things yet?
The secret finale?
Have you heard
There
about
is no secret finale. It's a documentary that's coming out in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
but there seems to be just enough chatter about this that I think they might actually. I think there might be something to this. I'm hopeful. I think it would be like a lot better than what they've done so far. But
Yeah, I definitely. I would love
supposedly
to see it. I would love to see it, but
there is.
I mean, as listen. Hey, the Snyderverse is coming, guys. I just wait, just hang out. They're gonna.
Hey, Eric, did you and Joe do a show about Stranger Things a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, but we didn't. None of us had watched the last season at that point.
Oh, can I throw out my two bits worth here, because we're just shooting the shit here. I'm gonna, now that I've seen the finale, I'm gonna do my rank of best to worst Stranger Things. It's season 1, season 4, season 2, and then tied for worst is season 3, season 5. I'm sorry, I did not enjoy. I thought it wrapped it up okay, but I did not enjoy season 5. I thought they were going through the motions. I thought they wanted to give everybody a happy ending, except for 11, sadly. But even then, look, she's around. In 10 years, in Stranger Things time, it's going to be 1999. They're going to do a reunion show at the beginning of the millennium. Write this down. 10 years from now, they're going to do a 10-year anniversary reunion show. It's going to take place in 1999, right at the end of 1999, before 2000. And there'll be shenanigans. There are going to be shenanigans going on in the Upside Down, coinciding with the year 2000, and they're going to bring the whole cast back together. They'll all be about 45 years old by then, or I don't know how I think they'll be in they're probably their late 30s, or I don't know how old they'll be. But
I mean, was anyone else looking at the last episode going, there's an hour left, what's going to happen in this last hour? Get excited.
It was too much.
But here's the thing. I guess what the Duffer Brothers were trying to do is they took a page out of the Lord of the Rings with the Return of the King, and they did that.
I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing. I thought it was very much. Yes, I thought it was very much. We're going to tie all, because a lot of finales of shows, especially some of the ones we really adore that we love, they have a short wrap up. They wrap up in 10 minutes, and you're like, wow, that was really classic. That was amazing. I think an hour wrap up may have been pushing the agenda, pushing it way too far, because
you're like, what's going to happen? There's another hour left.
Yeah, you don't really need to know what happens to everybody. A part of enjoying a show is you work out in your brain. So for those of us who, if your friends are Breaking Bad, so they had the final episode. And then Vince Gilligan decided he didn't want to leave it like that, so he made a movie that shows what happens to what's his name? The other character? I'm sorry, I can't remember the name.
Heisenberg or Jesse?
Jesse's character. And so it was a very good. I thought he did a great job. It takes place right after he escapes from the compound and Heisenberg gets killed. Sorry, spoilers. If you haven't seen it by now, screw you guys. And he did a great job. Now, was it necessary? No, he didn't have to do it. I mean, part of what was interesting about Breaking Bad is wondering where's Jesse going to? He drives to the fence. He drives off. He's gone. Heisenberg's bleeding to death on the ground. What did happen to him? Does it matter? No, it's just cool. And so by explaining exactly, here's exactly what happened to him, they kill a little of the magic. Now, like I said, Vince Gilligan doesn't do anything. Nothing he does is bad. I mean, it was a great movie. And there was some great lines in there, great scenes in there, but it didn't have to happen. And I think in a lot of these cases, you don't need that detailed a wrap up. I thought that was just way too detailed a wrap up for Stranger Things. I don't know. I had some issues with a lot of the things that last season. I didn't think it was terrible, but I also thought a lot of it was paint by numbers. Okay, we're going to do this, and then this happens, and then the military's the bad guys, and these, it was very, I don't know. I just didn't feel like it had that sense of wonder that a lot of.
And if Hawkins was arrested for insurrection because they murdered a bunch of U.S. military.
We don't want to get into too many spoilers. We don't want to get into too many spoilers. I'm just.
They somehow got out of any repercussions from all the stuff that happened the final season. You assume.
Wait, 18 months later, as my wife puts it, 18 months later, and then, so that they do all that was, I guess, figured out within that time.
Yeah, I guess they figured it out. But I was a little disappointed. But I think a lot of fans, I noticed a lot of fans online were really happy with it because for the most part it was a happy ending for everybody, bittersweet for a couple of people, but it was pretty much a nice happy wrap up. There wasn't anything horrific or horrible or awful. And I
It was
think
a nice happy wrap up, except for Barb, who is still dead.
well, there's a bittersweet, there's a bittersweet moment in there too. I thought their last D&D game was great. I loved the way it paralleled their final battle. I thought that was really. I thought they all did a good job there, and I think the show was strongest when it was concentrating on the core group of kids in 11 and all those guys. I think where it kind of fell apart season 5 was all these hangers on coming in and these randos and who's this guy, and this guy was, we met this guy season 3 and here's a season 4. They weren't part of the original group. I think that the whole final season should have concentrated on that original group of kids, because that's where we fell in love with the whole idea. And the whole Stranger Things is these kids wander and they're playing D&D and they run into this crazy situation that doesn't make any sense to anybody, but they're kids. They're not jaded yet. So they realize they can fix what's going on while the adults are running around like, we don't know what's happening. What's going on? And the kids are like, no, we figuring this out. And I think as the kids got older, obviously 9 years passing didn't help because Millie Bobby Brown looks like she's 40 years old. Sorry, she does. And it just didn't. It just there was some issues with the way that it's aged. But the way the kids age is a little.
I've had some non-players actually ask me. People have never played D&D before have asked me because they know how passionate I am about the game, about tabletop role-playing games, and they're like,
"I can't believe people."
Is that what it's like? Is it that good? People who have watched the last episode of Stranger Things have been like, is playing D&D that much fun? And you know what I tell them? Better. It's better than better.
Look, if nothing else, I always point to the trilogy of, Big Bang Theory, Critical Role, and Stranger Things as being the catalyst, and then you could throw in the pandemic, obviously, of why this hobby blew up in the last 5-6 years, and it was a big part of that. Stranger Things was a huge part of that. It brought the whole idea of these weirdy nerd kids were doing in the 80s. It brought that to the forefront. People were like, wow, like you said, Tony, like, wow, is it really that fun? Yes, it's really that fun. It's really that cool. And so I think that, it definitely has a really unique place in our society, and it always will, especially people like us who were there when it happened and then got to watch it again, at our age 50 and 60 and said, yep, it was pretty cool. That's kind of how it was. And I think it definitely had a huge effect on the game and just the game, the acceptance of the game. And, just the fact that it went from a nerdy kind of niche hobby to this big giant blow up thing. Do you guys remember when season 1 came out, everybody was looking for the Demogorgon miniature and actually reprinted it. They reprinted the Demogorgon miniature, the old Ralph Partha miniature. It was actually whoever had the rights to reprint it. That's how big an effect it had that everybody wants a Demogorgon miniature. And then season 4 with
the Stranger Things box set.
The Stranger Things box. Everybody has a Hellfire Club T-shirt. You can go to conventions now. There's got to be at least a dozen people wearing Hellfire Club T-shirts. So yeah, the effects on society were just amazing, and I think that's really cool. To what it did was really, really cool. I don't know if it was lightning in a bottle. Are we ever going to see something like that again that brings our hobby to the forefront in such a positive manner? And that's the other thing too that you guys need to realize. It brought our hobby to the forefront in a positive manner. This was not Tom Hanks running around a cave going out of his mind, which was not a positive effect on our hobby. This was not Mazes and Monsters or the Rona Jaffe book is based on. This is an absolutely 100% positive look at D&D and friendship and how these guys stuck together and they played the game together and just everything they did. And so I just don't know if we're going to see anything like that again. Especially the way society is. It wants to drag everything down and make everything, awful. And I could see a movie coming out that makes D&D players serial killers, because that's what media loves to do to people like us. But
starring Tom Hanks.
Starring Tom Hanks. He can still do it too. Oh my, he's probably gonna get it. You know what? He's probably still in that he could get out of the asylum now. He's like in his 80s and he gets out of the asylum. But anyway, that was my. So I enjoyed it for what it was, and I thought they did an okay job. And I didn't realize this. Do you realize the season cost $500 million? That was,
Yeah.
it was $480 something million to film that.
But
Yeah,
you know what?
every episode
Everybody
was a
who's
movie,
gone in-
guys. Every episode was a movie.
Pretty much.
Everybody who's gone in on this, sponsor wise, seems to be getting their money out of it. Like the Target aisle was barren, like it sold out of everything, and you know we're still seeing commercials for other stuff. Like it was successful enough to warrant, because Hollywood has no original thoughts. Somebody's going to come back to this. Somebody's going to come back to this again. And yes, they sold out of Demogorgon butt plugs. I mean, Target sold out of the Demogorgon butt plugs.
I didn't look for those, Jim, but what aisle was that in? So I could.
Oh, it was in the
for a
Stranger
friend. I'm
Things
asking
aisle.
for a friend. Asking for a
Well,
friend.
it's a Stranger Thing, that's for sure.
It was definitely a
Asking for
Stranger
a friend.
Thing. That's right.
But yeah,
Yikes.
it had a positive effect on the hobby. Like I said, I think it was part of the trilogy of things that really got us into consciousness. You know, Sheldon mentioning Gary Kahn's one, and then obviously, like I said, Critical Role. That these are all came together at a certain time and just brewed it up, and it just happened to hit, which is why it makes it even more ridiculous that you know. When WotC had that dumb meeting at the end of 2023 where we're gonna triple our audience, and Eric and I are just sitting there going, this was lightning in a bottle. This is all these effects came together at once. You are banking on something that was a once in a lifetime occurrence, and sure enough, we were right, because of course they couldn't triple their audience.
That's right.
So,
that's right. And
but
there's
yeah,
no-
I mean, he's the best thing since James Dallas Eckbert.
Yeah, look, there's another negative. I mean, all these negative things that happen to the hobby through media, and this is one of the very few positive, things. And I think that we may overlook that a little bit when we talk about it. But no matter, because I have met a lot of people like, oh, I didn't see it past season 2, it sucked, and I didn't. By the way, if you hadn't seen it past season 2, season 4 is really good. That was it's worth fighting through season 2 and 3 just to see season 4. Season 4 was a comeback to the original. Really, I watched season 4 before season 5. My wife and we thought it was real. I did not remember how good it was. Season 4 was really, really good.
It was pretty dark.
It's very dark. Yes,
it was very, very dark, and I think that's to their credit. They actually leaned into that, and I'm really happy about that. I think
there was some horrific images in that 4th season. When Vecna's killing people, that's pretty bad, man. That's pretty bad stuff.
It got dark quick.
Which in season 5 they leaned away from that, because I think they thought, well, we're going to have a lot more people watching, maybe people just jumping on board. We don't want to freak people out. I think they calmed it down a little bit.
All these seasons with me was almost willing to shed it because of season 4.
Really? Wow.
Well, I think it's interesting that Netflix has backed off of the next project with
all that, as you're mentioning, like that was, in my opinion, I think the darkest season that they did. But honestly, also in my opinion, I with the greatest credit to the game that we know and love with the Hellfire Club and that aspect of D&D. I mean, so you had the first season that really started that with Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, and then playing the game. But like they kind of, I think, did a little bit throughout the seasons, but season 4 was a return with the Hellfire Club and that camaraderie of the group and all that.
We watched season 4 again.
It was the everything that was going on with Vecna at the same time.
Yep. The first episode of season 4, I think that is one of the best episodes they ever. I was in awe about how great that episode was. There's a scene near the end where the one kid's playing basketball and he can't play in the game, and they've got to find one more person to play in the Hellfire Club game, and they're racking their brains, and you see the kids walking down the hallway, and Erica, the little sister, is there, and she's got the American flag wrapped around her, and I think it's Jimi Hendrix Star Spangled Banner's playing, and the way it's filmed, it's just like, oh my God, this is. And they're walking. She's flanked by Dustin and Mike, and they're walking down to go play. And she's got all her D&D books, and she's got the American flag, and they're playing. You're just like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then the whole game that they have when they're fighting, and she has to roll a 20 at the end to get it. And because everybody else is dead, and she rolls and shows the dice, it's a 20, and they just go berserk. And then Eddie says, "That's why we play the game." And it just like that whole first episode of season 4 was, I thought, wow, this is, and sure enough, season 4 was really good. But I thought this is the whole. You could just take this one episode. Then of course, then after that they have the horrific death of the cheerleader. After the horrific death of the cheerleader, you're like, yeah. But yeah, that season 4 was really good.
Seeing Max walking down the hallway of her high school listening to Kate Bush, honestly, who else was just brought right back to the 80s with that? Like,
I'm sure I got some PTSD over Kate Bush from a long time ago.
So
the only good Kate Bush song is Experiment 4, and that's me just being kind.
So that actually, remember, if you remember correctly too, that put that song back in the top 10. The Stranger Things episode put up that.
I'm running down that hill.
And then you look at season 5. I don't like.
Who's this Kate Bush person? I'm like, child of the 80s. I watched a lot of MTV. I actually saw that. And there was all these people who were like, "Oh, have you heard this band Metallica?" Yeah, heard of Metallica. Someone in 2022 is like,
Iron Maiden.
Times that you speak of, Tony.
Really
I've never heard
got
of
some
this.
crappy music. You guys heard about these guys?
Yeah, I heard of. Yeah, maybe I might have. Yeah.
Dude, I have a stuffed animal over my shoulder that's older than you.
But you look at season 5, and one of my complaints is, what moment season 5 stuck out like anything Tony and I just mentioned? Nothing. There's nothing like playing, like Eddie playing the guitar.
All right, so I'll give you something. I will give you something in season 5 that stuck out. All right, so spoilers here. Here we go. Spoilers. Everyone, earmuffs.
Wait, time out. Let's not do spoilers at this point.
It's been out.
Mike.
No season 5 talk.
I don't want to be the channel that I didn't watch it yet, and these guys are going into detail. We're not doing it. We're not doing that.
No details.
No details. So that's not
no details. All right. So
we
all I'm going to
talk
say
about
is
seasons 4 and before. You can tell your general feelings about 5.
I didn't. Like I said, I didn't. Without saying anything about 5, I didn't feel like there was a moment in 5 that I just thought I've got to rewatch that because it's so cool. Or when I'm going to watch this again someday, I'm definitely going to. Like I said, I'd kind of forgotten the scene with Erica walking down the hallway with Dustin and Mike Flecker and the flag and the books, and I was holy shit, that scene is awesome. That is an awesome freaking scene, And then she gets in there, and then Eddie's like, "Who are you?" "I'm Erica." And who was her character's name? It was some goofball name, Princess something or another, and it was just the whole.
She didn't want to play. You had to like basically like con her into it, basically.
I'm Princess Pedal Pusher, and I'm a 14th level ranger. Who are you, weirdo? It's just that whole scene, just great. The whole scene there, and then the game's great. But like I said, and then the game parallels the basketball game her brother's playing in, because at the very end he goes up for the last shot, and then she rolls the die. I mean, like I said, that might be the perfect episode. That and the season 1, episode 1, where it sets everything up, and you're like, I'm hooked. And the only other show I can remember that hooked me that tight was Twin Peaks. When I first saw the first episode of Twin Peaks, I'm just like, holy S, what did I just watch? I'm in. I am totally in.
And what's I've talked about this on the show before. The first episode of Twin Peaks, where you got 2 guys working on the railroad, and all of a sudden the girl is stumbling down the tracks toward them wearing nothing but like a slip in a catatonic fugue state. And you are immediately like, this ain't my usual primetime television, and Matlock ain't fixing this in 40 minutes.
And then they find Laura Palmer's body and they're wrapped in plastic, and you're like, we're off to the right. And then Kyle MacLachlan rolls into town. You're like, holy shit, what do we got? And that to me, that's the season 1 first episode of Stranger Things did the same thing. I'm sitting there going, I'm in 100%, because there is something going on here that I haven't seen in a long time. This is super cool. I'm definitely in. So they did a great job with that first season, especially the first few episodes. They did, like I said, in season 4, I thought they did a great job with that one. But it's harder for me to remember seasons 2, 3, and 5, just because I think they went back to the well a little bit, because every season was something happens. There's a big bad. We got to go through all this struggle, and then we're going to defeat the big bad at the end.
Well, it's a formula that works, right? And you go back to the formula that works, but at some point, it no longer works because everybody knows the formula.
Glenn, we did not need that spoiler. Thank you, Glenn. I have a picture in my mind that I don't need, and
there you go.
I blame you.
All right, Mike. What's your 5 CDs?
My 5.
Oh well, you don't have it. All right, never
mind.
I
have them over there. Just Jim, you go first, and I'll.
All right. So I decided to pick a movie that, frankly, I think it's one of the best movies of the last 25 years. I stand on that. I'll die on this hill, and it's why some of us have red staplers. Office Space.
Oh shoot! Oh, yes. Okay.
Oh my God! Right? Mike Judge can do no wrong. King of the Hill, genius. As much as I was not a huge fan of it, I understand the point of Beavis and Butthead and why they're important. But Mike Judge just constantly Idiocracy. The greatest opening in a movie ever is Idiocracy. Highlighting the difference in how things went wrong. But Office Space is the one that really and truly just resonated. If you've ever had to work in a cube farm, you understand the pain. If you've ever had to put up with Flair and a request for Flair, but Office Space is number one out of the gate. I suppose I could do a second movie. You want a second movie, Mike?
The scene where they're destroying the copier, one of my top 10 scenes in movie history. It's so great.
And so this is a deep cut, but I got this out of the library because I saw it and I was really excited. It's a collection of the Secret Policeman's Other Balls. And so Amnesty International, like a lot of NGOs, has gone in different ways than it originally was. But in the late 70s and early 80s, Amnesty International used to have these fundraising events called the Secret Policeman's Ball, the Secret Policeman's Other Ball, and so on. And so this is a DVD collection of all those specials. And what's fascinating is it's a great peek at, like, Sting does Roxanne, live solo. There's all sorts of musical acts, comedy. And so I decided I wanted a nostalgia trip. So I went to the library and got that out. But you should check your local library. You should look around because some of this stuff, it's very dated, but it's still just great.
There's some great individual performances on those too. I like
yes,
that.
Yes.
I decided to go more contemplative this week. These are a lot of bands maybe you haven't heard of, but they're I don't know what you call it, trance rock. It's very very melodic, very.
What do you got? Bring it.
Luna. I have a band called Luna. This album's called Luna Park. Yep. Telescopes. The album is called. It's their first album, The Telescopes. And Guided by Voices. You may have heard Guided by Voices. Their album called Propeller. Guided by Voices. They're known for having very short songs. They have a great hook, but they don't do solos and stuff. They just play the song and it's done. 2.5 minutes, pretty much all their songs. So that's kind of like, they're very melodic, Now, here's two you've probably heard of. One of the best-selling albums of all time, Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory. If you're not around for this, you do not understand how important this album was, how much it sold, how much we got sick of hearing Champagne Supernova on the radio, and
oh my God,
and Wonderwall. I mean, but it's been enough time to where I can listen to it now, and I can work my way past Wonderwall and Champagne Supernova. But yeah, great. It's a great album. It really is good. And I did not know it spent as many weeks at number one as it did, but it was a phenomenon when this came out. 1990.
They want to do the theme to the next Bond movie. They've come out and said that we want to be the front runner to be able to do the next.
And then here's a blast of the past. Great album. You've all heard one song of this album, but you probably haven't heard the album, The Romantics. This is their first album. You've heard What I Like About You, but it's got banger after banger. We're Look in Your Eyes, Tell It to Carrie, First in Line, Girl Next Door. It's Little White Lies. It's dudes meeting chick songs. They're all hooky as hell. If you've only heard What I Like About You, get the Romantics' first album. God knows where they got those red leather suits, but no, it's a great album, and I have not heard this for a few years, and I've forgotten how much every single song on here absolutely rocks. It's really
now there's a footnote to the Oasis album. Have you seen the movie Yesterday, where the guy where he wakes
There's
up
no
in the universe
Beatles.
where the Beatles
Yeah.
don't exist,
Mhm.
and he does his search for Oasis, and there is no Oasis because the Beatles didn't exist?
because they
That's
stole
like the
everything from
greatest
Beatles.
joke in the entire movie.
Yeah, there's some
And he
good
goes, makes sense. Yes.
there's
Makes
some great
perfect
lines in that movie. Yeah, that's a good movie too.
That's a great movie. But so much fun, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I have a great story. So when that album was at its peak, that year in Baltimore for Games Day, we had Jez Goodwin and Dave Gallagher come over from Nottingham, and I had to. We went out that night because they wanted to go out. They wanted to go out and have some beer and just carry on. So one of the guys drove his 1979 Jeep CJ with a V8 with no roof and no doors. And our managing director of the US office pulls me aside and says, if it comes down to it, I expect you to get in front of the gun and keep the two of them alive. And I was like, okay, sure. And the overall soundtrack album for that night
Oh my God.
was Oasis's What's the Story, Morning Glory. And I cannot ever forget that, right?
So every time you hear Wonderwall now, you go back.
I'm just like, I remember that's the night I
Mm.
discovered that Dave Gallagher, his parents only had enough money to pay for the first semester of art school. And so after that, the only way he got to go through art school was by essentially winning foosball games and bets. And he paid for art school because every fall there was a new crop of freshmen that had no idea that he
man.
was the foosball champion of Nottingham or wherever it is that he
That's
went to school.
hilarious.
I watched him clean the clock of some guys in a bar. We were at the Baja Beach Club in downtown Baltimore, and he's fiddling around with a foosball table, and some guys walk over and they're like, "You want to play for money?" And he's like, "Sure." And he looks over at me and he says, "I don't have any currency. What do you have?" And I was like, "I got 20." He says, "That'll do." And so he says, "Stand next to me, but don't touch any of the handles.
Don't touch a thing.
Don't
I
touch
love
a
it.
thing."
Oh,
And
that's a great story.
He took the 20 up to $250, and you could tell the guys were like, "We're getting rolled." And he was like, "Hey, we're all done." And we had to go to another bar. It was great.
You know what's cool is when people know they're getting rolled, but you're so good they let you roll them because they're like, this guy is so good. We're okay. We got taken, but let's watch him play because he's just so freaking amazing.
But I mean, he would literally just flick his wrist, and the ball would hit their goal like that. There was so much momentum behind it, and he just, oh my God, we lost Tony. That's probably a sign. We ought to call it a night.
That's a sign from the gods above.
That's right. There he is. He's back.
There is he.
It is a sign of the times.
OSR
That used to
Con
be
in April
Yep.
in Massachusetts.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. This has been a good experience. It's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys tonight. So,
we're so hopeful for your show. It hits all the sweet spots, and we expect lots of pictures of Matt Roberts' flow. Right?
Floby won.
Yes, Floby won.
The cat knows.
That's right.
Folks, by the way, right before the show went live, we hit 9,000 subscribers. So thanks to everybody who's been supporting this channel. Really appreciate it. Don't yell. My cat's hissing at me. Get out of here. Go.
God, that's loyalty for you.
Yeah, she's like, you should have been done already. But you're past your time. I don't have a sweet cat like Mike has. Mike has a sweet pussy.
I don't have any cats. I got you both beat.
I got a cat and a dog, so
That's right. I got the dog. I'm good with that.
Where's my pussy?
I know. Tony, thank you for joining us. It was a lot of fun.
You're very welcome, Eric. Thank you for having me.
My God, the only Spellfire event of the entire calendar year, and you own it at your con.
Yes, yes.
Lean into it. Lean
Lean
into it.
into the spellfire.
Absolutely, man.
And remember, folks, you can still get your dragon dice too.
Dragon dice.
Dragon dice are available. I put the link up earlier.
Stop.
Just saying. Just saying.
Man.
Folks, live streams the next couple of nights. Oh my god. It's insane. Thank you to Jim. Thank you to Mike. Thank you to everybody in the chat. You've all been great. And I will see you all tomorrow.
Nice.
Later.